that's intending to present a comprehensive view on the future of multi-stakeholder Internet governance. The final report is expected to make strategic recommendations across a variety of Internet governance issues. These recommendations will be based on a significant body of original research conducted by a research advisory network. And I'll be showing you some screenshots of our website so you can see what work we're doing there. One of the key objectives is to encourage and undertake a global public discussion on key issues in Internet governance through public consultation platforms and other institutional, media, and academic channels. The goal of this open forum is to facilitate a dialogue between members of the Commission and the Commission Secretariat and stakeholders attending the IGF. That, we hope, will give the Commission an opportunity to present its initial findings and some thoughts about the direction we're taking to the community and get some feedback. I have too many buttons in front of me here. I think it would be useful, our primary method of communicating outward what's going on with the Commission is through the website, of course. Homepage, which is Our Internet, and it's ourinternet.org. Commissioners and partners, the Commission was organized by Canada's Centre for International Governance Innovation and the United Kingdom Royal Institute of International Affairs, known more generally as Chatham House. It's supported also by 10 sponsoring governments and other organizations. We have 29 commissioners, far too long a list for me to go through in detail. It's supported by Dr. Laura Dinardis and a secretariat staff. We have 29 prominent researchers in the field of Internet governance. Again, the full list is on our website. And our primary outputs to date are a list of research papers, so far numbering 22, produced by RAN members on a wide range of topics, and more are coming. So there we see the second page of this. Research papers will be published as a standalone document in accompanying the Commission report, and they're being used to inform the Commissioner's discussions. However, the final report isn't expected to be a summary of these papers, but rather a broader synthesis of the issues. The main output so far that you would see directly from the Commission is a statement that was issued at the Hague Conference on Cybersecurity. It was titled "Toward a Social Compact for Digital Privacy and Security," and it was very well received by the community. Got a lot of attention, and I'd urge you to take a look at that to see the quality of the work that's being produced. So I think I'll leave it there and for now introduce the commissioners that we have with us today and ask them to each say a few words about their views on the Commission. So, starting from my left, we have Mariette Schaake, who's a member of the European Parliament. Here we have Nick Quaynor, who's no stranger to the IGF from Ghana. We have Anne Carblanc from the OECD. The Secretary General of the OECD is our official commissioner, Angel Gurria, but naturally a person in his position isn't able to take on huge amounts of the work, although he is an active commissioner and has been playing a very strong supporting role. And last but not least, we have Kathy Brown, CEO of the Internet Society. Kathy is an official observer and a link to the Internet technical community from the Commission. So each of them will have a few words to say. We also have several RAN members in the room, Research Advisory Network members. I'd ask them to just raise their hands. Frankly, out of the 29, I'm not sure I know them all myself. So there we go. So with that, I will turn to Marietta to make a statement, and then we'll walk around and then open this for discussion.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I have much of a statement because I mostly look forward to exchanging with you all and hearing more from what you have in mind as advice or questions or thoughts for us in the Global Commission. Maybe just a little bit of a flavor for the way we work. And I'll be very honest with you, when I was first invited to participate as a commissioner on the Global Commission, I thought, how is this going to work? 29 people from very, very different disciplines, some of them with a very serious and heavy national security background. There were also a lot of questions from civil society asking whether I would even commit to such a commission. And I thought, why not just be open-minded and see what it's like? You can always decline from the beginning, but you can also see what it is. And I've been actually very positively surprised about the way in which we work together. The fact that we are 29 different people from very, very different disciplines creates kind of a balance between us. We have very intense, substantial discussions on very different topics. Access in developing countries, the technical layers of the internet and how they function. Issues with regard to jurisdiction and how governance can, on a technical and legal level, even take place, or how we can come to norms that are helping the open internet, but particularly the people globally using the open internet. So we've had and I'm leaving out many topics. I do hope you'll have a look at the very many research papers that we're also consulting. In any case, we've had several meetings all over the world where we sat in rooms like this from the early morning to late evenings discussing and discussing and discussing. And the test of whether we could agree on a common initially I was skeptical about came when we published this social compact, in which I think the key line is that freedom and security online do not have to be and should not be zero-sum. They are integrated, they are mutually enforcing, and the recommendation that is supported by all commissioners is that governments should not weaken encryption. And it is an outcome that I am very happy about and didn't expect at the beginning. It's pretty much sort of the halftime product of our work, and now the most difficult task to come up with final recommendations or action points is still in the works. It's very, very intense discussions and work that we do in smaller subsets of topical discussions with fewer members of the Commission that zoom in on specific topics and that should come together in some kind of final recommendation. But one of the reasons why we have this open forum is to learn from you, to answer your questions and hear your ideas about what it is we should be doing. And what you would like to see in these recommendations or action points, or what role you think the Commission should play in this massive discussion about internet governance, where of course here we're at one of the most important and large multi-stakeholder meetings. So I'll end there just to give you an impression of my own experiences. We don't all agree on the Commission, that should be known. We are all there as individuals, but with a clear shared commitment to advancing the open internet and the rights and the freedoms of the people using it. So thank you very much. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much. Nee, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much. I think I'll start by pointing out the importance of the IGF in helping advance the internet governance debate. And that's, to an extent, one of the important reasons why we are here as well. This being a neutral space, enabling all stakeholders to discuss the new issues and explore new things, makes it possible for us to, in some sense, advance the internet without feeling necessarily pressured. The Commission has benefited from being able to draw on this community, especially since we've learned to work together. And the Commission's effort to get a smaller group to try to make recommendations to advance internet governance on difficult subjects becomes a little bit more realizable. Now, to produce concrete recommendations, on something of this complexity requires that we benefit from the years of experience at an IGF such as this, and it has made it possible for the technical community who is familiar with this approach of open discussion and the IGF to help with this particular effort. At the Open Forum, we are looking to hear from others on what they believe are a good approach to addressing some of the difficult issues that we want to make some recommendations on. Now, in this case, I'd like to cite one example that comes from the statement that was made at The Hague, and because it's of interest to me. And the statement says something like this. It illustrates the difficult issues the Commission is trying to address. And it says, governments working in collaboration with technologists, businesses, and civil society must help educate their publics in good cybersecurity practices. They must also collaborate to enhance the training and development of the software workforce globally to encourage creation of more secure and stable networks around the world. I think you'll agree that it's difficult to address issues of this nature, and those are the kinds of things that the Commission is looking to get good recommendations out of. Thank you.
Thank you, Nii. Anne Carblanc, would you like to say a few words, please?
Yes, certainly. Our Secretary General, as you said, is a member of the Commission and very supportive of this work by an independent and very diverse group of commissioners coming from different horizons with a different expertise and different background. The OECD is in particular supporting the work of the Commission in the area of, let's say, the openness of the Internet. We've started, we have a number of instruments very close to the Net Mundial principles, we call them the Internet policymaking principles, that start from the premise, based on many years of experience in the OECD countries, that you need an open Internet to continue to have a good impact on trade, on innovation, in general, on growth and on prosperity. And what we are doing currently is develop a conceptual framework of what is Internet openness, looking at different dimensions, from the technical openness to the economic openness to the social openness and to other aspects. And we try to not only provide the qualitative information to explain what it means, but also to get data and to begin to get a sense, to begin to provide qualitative evidence of the link between the openness of the Internet and economic and social prosperity. So this is essentially what we do. We also contribute in other areas where we have a long experience and expertise, which include digital security risk, digital privacy risk, and we also have a lot of work in e-commerce. Anyway, there's a broad range of OECD work that we can contribute to the work of the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, very much. And Kathy, would you like to talk a little bit about how you're experiencing the Commission and its work?
Thank you. Thank you for having me sit here. I want to apologize before I even start that I have to slip out, and it's no reflection on my view of the importance of the work of this Commission, because I think it is indeed very important. There's just other people calling as well. Let me say this. I was asked to be an observer to this Commission, and I was a little skeptical as well as when we started as to how this very diverse group of people would actually operationalize their conversations and how they would reach decision making. And I must say that this is, again, a testament to this idea of multi-stakeholders, that if people of goodwill from very different, diverse backgrounds, and not just who have an interest, but who are actually experts in their area, really different expertise at the table, very high-level expertise, are willing to actually share their thinking and learn from each other, that there is a possibility of principled decision outputs. And I think I, like you, was a little startled and also quite pleased when the compact came together. And it came together in the most unique internet global way, and that is with a draft that multiple people were working on all over the world. And I saw what this mutual respect and expertise, how that works together to actually come up with what I thought was a very substantial document and a substantial addition to our thinking about how to move forward. So my observation is that this is a learning group. It's a funny way to say this, because if you look at the level of expertise of the commissioners, you would say they had learned all they needed to learn. But they know what they know in their expert area. And what I have been watching is how they learn from each other to come to synthesis for what are brand new problems. So if you're wrestling with brand new problems, it's not enough to know what you know. It's what you don't know. And then looking around to figure out how you learn that, and then what contribution you can give to the thinking. And so I'm looking forward. The Commission is now involved in its, I guess, final phase of trying to think about what its recommendations are. I will tell you, I observe that it's not there yet. And I'm going to be really interested to watch how this happens. And I'm interested in the questions that are being asked to help frame the actual output and the pushback that various people give to each other. One last point. I have also been given permission to push back and to suggest and to sort of rattle the cages once in a while. And I have appreciated very much that opportunity to do that, to be part of this. So thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Kathy. So just to give a little context to our discussion, here's a list of the main topics, and I say this with some trepidation, but as of the 10th of November, these are the topics that are most likely to be addressed in the final report. The need for a new social compact in the digital age. This concept of a new social compact came out from the discussions around the Hague Statement, and I think that's going to be a major theme coming through the entire work of the Commission. Discussions around digital citizenship in the age of the Internet, and what does it mean to be a digital citizen. Discussions around how to achieve sustainable accessibility very broadly defined, to accessibility to the Internet. Then discussions around the Internet as a driver of development and Internet governance for development. And that's one of the ones I'm helping with on the Secretariat and trying to figure out what we can usefully add there. Discussions, as you might expect, around crime and punishment in the cyber age. And then finally, but far from least, Internet stability and resiliency. So that's the current most likely list of chapter headings. And I think the point of this forum now is to, I should probably go back to that. The point of this forum now is to open the floor for discussion on these or other topics. Are there things that we've missed here? Are there things that you feel a very broadly skilled commission should be learning about and helping the community to crystallize ideas? And so with that, I'll shut up and turn the floor over to you. Anyone wish to be first? Please. Introduce yourself. Thanks.
Patrick Curry, and I'm involved in a whole array of different organizations in different countries, including ISO and ITU, standards bodies in the United States, and government activities in Europe and Asia and Africa, and also in the Americas. The issue before some of the national leadership is primarily around digital economies. and the issues that we have on information centricity in the internet and how that moves forward. So there's the question I would have here is that the requirements for trust and interoperability are fundamental to both the societal and the digital economic requirements that we have strategically and nationally going forwards. And I would ask what the Commission is doing to look at the economic aspects, and I'm not talking purely about money, and I'm talking about how this relates to the complete changes that are occurring in economies, in economic models, as a consequence of digital. So this isn't just bolting technology onto historic models. And I'd like to cite a specific issue. 3 weeks ago, the European Court of Justice ruled that cryptocurrencies were to be traded and managed as currencies, not as commodities. Now, different nations have different rules. Some are doing it as commodities, like the United States. Others, like the UK, have it as currencies. The ruling is that it will be traded as currencies. So for taxation purposes, economic management, regulation, and so on, this opens up all sorts of opportunities and challenges. So as society, individuals, organizations, governments, crime follow the money, and so too does investment in the internet, the concern that we have, we being a loose, very broad constituency, is that we need to get smart about the changes that are happening in support of that. And the one that I would bring out now is the shift in smartphone technology. Smartphones are, within the next year, going to become the trust anchor that we use. It will not be these devices. And there are sound technical reasons for that. The beginning of next year, we will see the implementation of the toolkits to enable trusted execution environments to work on the advanced smartphones, and the S6 is one of those. So my point is, as we see the power moving into the hands, literally, of the citizen or the business employee or the soldier or the pilot in their hands, this is going to affect dramatically how we use information and what we call trust anchors in the back of the internet. And it would be really encouraging to know that the Commission is engaging on the breadth of what I've just described. So sorry for such a long and provocative question, but this ultimately is about money in order to ensure freedom and business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of our commissioners want to comment on that? Thank you.
I'll try to answer, but just, it's a reflection of how I see our work. We're in the middle of a lot of massive discussions, and one of the challenges is what do we do and what do we not do? Because there's a lot of new developments in genetics, in all kinds of technology areas that we cannot discuss. So we try to limit ourselves to governance issues, and we have in the line of what you mentioned, digital currencies. One member who is very focused on blockchain and digital currency, so he educates us all the time, is extremely excited about what is happening there. So that's one part, and then I think the sort of empowerment of the individual, also in economic aspects, would fall under our thinking about digital citizenship. And much more broadly, we're in constant analysis along the lines of how lawmaking, jurisdiction, rules making, norm development traditionally happened in the nation states on the basis of territoriality and traditional citizenship, and how that is sort of at complete odds with a more horizontal, hyper-connected reality that people not only live in literally, but also live in when they go online. And so we think about it in more broad terms than just the economy, but hopefully both in terms of governance and in terms of specific economic implications such as blockchain and cryptocurrencies, we will come up with concrete points. I hope this answers your question.
So forgive me for kind of coming back on 2 points on there. So blockchains are being used increasingly for non-financial activity. And distributed ledgers, we're going to see, it's already started. So I've been involved in discussions around things like food fraud, IT product traceability, and there are many more. Every sector is going to have requirements around blockchains within the next couple of years. And the question then, this is going to be another capability that has to link to trust anchors like registers and so on for the future, and be very happy to take that discussion offline.
Yeah, maybe it's better to go into detail and have more general discussion here for the moment, but I'm here all week and happy to connect.
If I can just connect to one last beat on that. In other groups around governance, and I'm here as part of EU Project Mapping, which is an internet governance project for the EU. And as part of that, one of the cornerstone activities is around a dialogue around trust and interoperability mechanisms. And so the notions of anonymity, partial anonymity, pseudonymity, and veronymity, which are also being developed in ISO in particular, and to some extent ITU, but it would be very helpful for those to be surfaced in here, because absent those primary capabilities, it's really hard to support relationships in a cyber environment, coping with, as you've just said, the duality of cyberspace as a global commons versus the fact that I've got data sitting on a network or on a server in a specific jurisdiction.
Yeah, clear. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think you are right. We do anticipate that there will be a lot more of applications of blockchain in many different areas than cryptocurrencies. In fact, because of interest in local government, we also are seeing some examples of applications emerging in that arena. And so certainly this is an important subject for us to consider even more. And I think she's right. There's someone on the committee who has been pushing us in that direction. But, it's a balance. And but I think you are right that this is becoming an important issue, and we will be looking at it, I'm sure. Thank you.
Azumi, next, please. Introduce yourself before speaking.
Thank you very much. My name is Izumi Aiz. I'm based in Tokyo and working for University of a Research Institute for Infosocionomics. Over 3 years, I've been looking outside of the traditional internet governance or internet arena. I might say, picking up with what the other gentleman said, there are certain areas using the digital technologies and applying into the physical world, as you may see. I agree that we should not expand too much of the focus on the one hand, but what if the new things, new challenges or brand new things coming up in the next 5 to 10 years? So I just would like to shortlist the keywords, and it might be good if the Commission's final report will not elaborate too much of these new areas, but still, at least if you all agree, cover the areas of emerging issues or potentially become either harmful or very positive areas. So with the different manifestations, as you may know, the Internet of Things is one, an industry internet or the industry 4.0 is another, the makers movement, the Fab Lab, the digital and social fabrications, sharing the product data, how do you really protect the IPRs, or there's open source design, open source hardware, and these are getting mostly very serious or more tangible than, say, every 3 months, I would say. We are working also in my small entity, the quest for the next mobility. It is a combination of digital and physical mobilities that the cars are assisted by the Google self-driving, or the drones. Do you need the drones licenses when they are connected? There are a bunch of others. I had a good conversation with Pinder Won, who is a member of the Commission, working on the blockchain and Bitcoin stuff, or the smart contract. That movement of the money or currency is facilitated by the distributed digital network. But likewise, all these making the things are also facilitated. The movement of the matters on top of the movement of the information. So these are a little bit more abstract areas, but if you look at some of the specifics, you will find very intriguing and difficult issues of the governance down the road. So I just would like to mention these. Thank you.
Wolfgang, please.
My name is Wolfgang Kleinwächter. I'm a professor emeritus from the University of Aarhus in Denmark. And first of all, I want to congratulate for the output you have produced so far. As an academic, it's wonderful to have these 20 plus papers, which is really a contribution to this never-ending flow. Being in this field for more than 20 years, it's like the Mississippi, it never stops, it goes, and still 1,000 miles to New Orleans. So it's a long way to go, and we are in the middle of the process. So my concrete question goes to your concrete proposal on the new social compact in the digital age. So, being involved in many years in drafting of principles and producing instruments and mechanisms. So could you be a little bit more specific? I think Anne mentioned the Sao Paulo Declaration, which was a great step forward by adopting a set of principles which is supported by a lot of government, civil society organization, technical community and private sector. It's really a globalized and multi-stakeholder document. And my question is, how this new social compact will be embedded into what we have already, and what is the added value? So that means where, and how is this then implemented? Who will negotiate this social compact if it comes to, to practical part of it, of implementation? Thank you. And by the way, the Commission, the mandate terminates this year, or what is the follow-up from the Commission?
Thank you very much. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we don't produce these papers. It's a vast research network of people, so we don't write it ourselves. We learn from it as much as you do, but I'm happy that it's appreciated because it's in the public domain and it should contribute to a much broader discussion than just the ones that we have in the small circle of the Commission. I'll just be brief and clarify that our mandate is indeed limited. It was for 2 years, so we have until, I think, early spring of next year, so the pressure is on us to take the next steps. And from my point of view, we're not so much framed by the notion of a social compact or something set in stone yet. What I hope will happen is that there will be clear recommendations coming out, which will be on a slightly more abstract level. So in terms of what standards should be adopted or what interoperabilities should be facilitated and by whom, instead of really filling in all the details. We want to have a priority of issues that we think are key to be addressed now, but I don't think anyone in the Commission has the illusion that we can work out in great detail some kind of new pact or whatever you call it, which would also then be globally implemented. I think it is more recommendations on the basis of thorough analysis than a very detailed map of a mechanism that should address these questions. That's my view, but I understand that there's a long list of ambitions on the screen. I'm not sure whether all of those will eventually be addressed in the end result. I think some of us are pushing for more short, concrete recommendations, like 3 or 5, and then have annexes of justifications and research to accompany. Well, the idea is that a new compact, or the notion of a compact, should be associated with the notion of multi-stakeholders coming together and creating trust between each other again. So that's the idea behind it, because we also identified the lack of trust between different actors, between different institutions in the technological infrastructure or the services running over it, between people and governments, lack of trust in companies and the services they provide. So the notion of a compact is more to identify that there should be a pause and a trust on focus where multiple stakeholders should come together and agree on certain norms, for example. And I would hope that these kinds of norms and what they would look like are the ones that we can identify. But we're still in the middle of discussion, so if you would put a microphone under the mouth of a commissioner that's not here right now, you may hear something completely different.
Okay, I'd like to just comment briefly. I think the idea would be that we want to contribute to the larger debate, larger discussion, and in fact, that is why we are here. So if we make any recommendations, it could not be for us to go somewhere else and implement. It must be that we are bringing it to the same community and have them also debate further and adopt which ones work best for them in their area. Meaning we'll use the same mechanisms that are in place, but we want to influence by the kinds of recommendations that we make. So it's very open, it's contributory, and with the belief that when you see some good recommendation, you will follow. And I think that's the approach, yeah.
Anne, please.
Just a few words to respond to your question in relation to the Net Mundial principles. Seen from where we stand at the OECD, we think that the work of the Commission is nothing contradictory to the Net Mundial principles. I think there is the same, the objectives are the same. And it's true that, as Mariette said, trust is central. And trust has been put at risk and very explicitly for the last few years. And that's one of the topics which is currently discussed within the Commission with different views, but with the idea of finding a consensus position that would speak in favor of preserving human rights, liberties, and so basically.
The social compact would be a confidence-building measure?
I think it's, we call for a social compact between different actors and we could identify certain elements, but we are not going to draft the social compact for everybody. Does that make sense?
Okay, I have 3 speakers identified. That we've got about 15 minutes more, so first here.
Thank you. I'm Divina Fraumegs. I'm a researcher from the Sorbonne Nouvelle and a rapporteur on Y6+10 for action line on media and particularly media education. I wanted to congratulate the Commission for its work because it's really been wonderful, and to thank you for allowing us to produce a paper, me and Lee Hibbard, on Education 3.0. And I would like to come back to that because I think that the topics that you mentioned here, that you're working on, all call for citizenship, and education at the moment remains very much understated. It's passed off as capacity building, but if we think of education as capacity building, we're going to go nowhere in terms of attitudes, in terms of values, in terms of trust. So for me, the long-term continuation of your work is through education and re-empowering education and rebooting education. That needs a real transition. Itsumi was talking about Fab Labs, etc. We see that the changes that education is taking is moving towards these other spaces, these third spaces where there's much more multi-stakeholder interaction with young people in and outside schools, and this is what is needed at the moment, it seems to me. So I would like to push for an Internet of Citizens besides the Internet of Things, so that we ensure that we have, not in parallel tracks, but in complete and mutually reinforcing stages, these 2 elements of values on one hand and objects on the other hand, so that we remain humanity-centered and that the Internet of Citizens remains the one that is the GPS for all of our young people. So I would push for that. At the moment, when it's done, it's reduced. Trust is reduced in education to safe and responsible Internet use. That is very small part of what education should be, and it's not optimistic in a sense. It's about fears and overcoming fears instead of opportunities and embracing opportunities. So this is what we would like to push. We make recommendations in our paper, sorry to refer to them, but 2 of them are, it seems to me, important. The future of the internet and the future of economics is about creative industries. We still don't know what they are and how to get there, but we know that they are participatory. And so push for harnessing the potential of creative industries for learning and training, not just for economics, for learning and training. If we don't do it, it will be done by private sector only, and it would be a shame for liberties. And the other idea, and I speak here to the researchers in the room, is to push for internet studies as the new basics for 21st century skills with media and information literacy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any comment?
Just briefly, I mean, we will not be able to address every aspect of digitization, so we're going to disappoint a lot of people. I think our focus should be on the governance questions and also being strict about what should and should not be governed and by who, so that we don't over-regulate, which is also a risk. But I can assure you that when we talk about the open internet, the public interest is at the heart of our thinking. So the fact that it's an internet for citizens for me is like, you know, self-evident, let's say. But taking people's interest into consideration may also include thinking about how the Internet of Things should be governed, because we want to make sure that people are not, you know, put in a difficult position in the absence of the appropriate governance or interoperability or norm structures. So, yeah, just a few thoughts.
Just to answer, it seems to me we are all, and I think it's maybe advice is plus 10 something we can think about. We haven't reached out to the general public. We have not reached out to the general public. So all these issues that are being discussed now, decided by governments, regulated by governments, are done with the general public not knowing or getting it piecemeal. We have to present a general picture of what has to be unpacked under governance. Governance has to go public. It's not just about safety, it's about data, it's about portability. We have to make a huge effort, especially the researchers and commissions like yours, to reach out to the general public, because it's not just kids who need to be educated today, it's adults. And so we have to move together with them, and I'm afraid we haven't managed that yet.
I just like to make one or two comments. As an academic, I do share your view about education needs to be rebooted and maybe revised in some respects, and I think that is good. With respect to the Commission, every time a meeting is held in different countries, there is an attempt to reach out. So even though we can't reach the billions unconnected, there is some effort at every local environment to indeed factor in some of the local input. And it's a mixture of whatever ecosystem they have in the country. Like when the meeting in Ghana was held, there was an extensive effort to bring in civil society and many other groups, so that at least we can become sensitive to the concerns of the local region. So that also, I think you are right, but we cannot do enough of it, and that's probably the issue.
Paul, please.
Hello, my name is Paul Fellinger. I'm the manager of the Internet and Jurisdiction Project. I'm very much looking forward to reading the Commission report next year. I like the expression of a new social compact in the digital age, and I think this boils down basically to a question of how do we manage digital coexistence in a way, because on the Internet, citizens from different countries, be it for private or business purposes or other purposes, coexist in shared cross-border online spaces. And the key question from a governance perspective is basically how can we manage coexistence? How can we enable coexistence? And I think what Maritje said in the beginning is a very important point. The jurisdiction question underpins almost the entire fabric of the global Internet. So if we want to collaboratively preserve the global nature of the Internet, the benefits that the Internet has brought so far, we need to come up with the necessary transnational mechanisms that are maybe as transnational as the Internet itself, in order to manage something that is global and that spans across multiple jurisdictions. So I think for me, this is one of the key topics that need to be addressed because it underpins all the different areas, be it human rights, be it freedom of expression, be it economics, growth, innovation. So I'm very much looking forward to reading the report, and I hope that this can be something that might be highlighted by the Commission as well.
Thank you. I see our time is running short, so I see two more hands. I'd like to get you to say, raise your point, and then we'll do a final round of comments from the commissioners, if that's okay. Over here, please.
Hi, thank you. I'm Sally Long, and I'm with the Open Group. We have a new standard that we came out, we've been working on for 6 years. It's called the Trusted Technology Provider Standard, mitigating the risk of tainted and counterfeit products for ICT. And so along with that goes an accreditation program that identifies those ICT providers and component suppliers that comply with the standard. So my question is, and I'm not really sure, I couldn't really glean if you're going to cover recommendations for standards or not. I thought maybe you said you were. And if so, then how would I provide information on this? It was adopted by ISO in September. How would I provide input to you all on potential standards that affect ICT and the Internet?
Good, thank you. And finally, back here, could you come up to a mic, please?
Hi, I'm Susan Morgan. Until the end of last year, I was Executive Director of the Global Network Initiative, and I'm now a freelance researcher and consultant. And I just wondered if you could say a few words about how the protection and achievement of fundamental rights such as free expression and privacy feature in the Commission's work. And I also thought now for the first time we've actually got specific special rapporteurs in the UN process, both for privacy and for free expression. I wondered if there was any connection between them and the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Good, thank you. Anyone want to address those? Maria, please.
Thank you. I'll try to address all questions as concluding remarks as well. The public outreach, on the one hand I agree, on the other hand what we're trying to do is really do our homework first. But in the process we get feed in from a lot of people, and I think, and I say this perhaps also as a member of European Parliament, there's many areas that relate to internet governance or the digital economy or digital society where I see an exceptional level of engagement by people, whether it's on net neutrality, on copyright, on child pornography, on education and skills. I mean, the list is long. If you compare it to other areas of policy making, I think there's more than ever a lively, globally connected civil society with networks of people that engage with decision makers everywhere, and we benefit greatly from their input. But of course, we can always do more to take responsibility, educate, and share what we're doing. The jurisdiction question is one of those complex matters that really, even if you put legal experts, governance experts, former or current CEOs of companies in a room, I mean, you know, rarely have I been challenged intellectually so much as during the work of the Commission. It's actually a treat, but it's really true. I mean, sometimes I just felt like I couldn't fit it in my head anymore. So we are really trying to work through these immensely complex, layered, almost matrixed aspects of all kinds of questions by zooming in on specifics and then zooming out again on the consequences in different areas. But you know, we don't have a golden formula to solve it all. In terms of standards, my sense is that what we might do is recommend where specific standards are needed. So, for example, if they aren't there yet, where should they be or on what level should they be made? But we are in no position, we're just not qualified to map out what those standards should be on a technical level, if that makes sense. So the relation to standards could come in the form of recommendations where we identify vacuums or loopholes, but I don't envision us saying, well, we need standards and this is what they look like. I don't think we're capable, because that would be over-promising our abilities. The question of rights and freedoms of people, I think for a significant amount of commissioners is really at the very foundation of the lens through which we look at the world. At least for me, this is the case. But of course, different expertise highlights a different angle to this question. But I see the recommendation not to weaken encryption as a very concrete one to make significant progress, to empower individuals to choose who they wish to share information with or not, to allow them to access information safely, etc., etc. We also have had very interesting discussions supported by some of the RAN members on the privatization of norm setting, of rights and of freedoms. For example, social media companies identifying what is quote-unquote appropriate content and what isn't, and this often being outsourced to sort of modern-day sweatshops where people for $1 a day are assessing whether or not there's too much nudity or violence in a picture. These kinds of discussions are part of the work we do. We don't have direct contact with the UN representatives, although I think on an individual level we do. And we do learn and get input from norms where they exist, discussions where they take place. This can be both in governance circles or in intellectual areas or in very technical arenas. So it is part of our work and view on what we're doing, yeah.
Good, thank you. I see we're officially out of time. Just any very quick comments from Anne or Nii, or?
Very quick. I think for us the importance of the open multi-stakeholder processes must be noted. It's very good to have. We like to address difficult subjects, difficult issues. That's why I cited a case of software enhancing the capacity and ability to produce software with less errors, which is a real tough issue. And it does indeed impact on the security and safety depending on where the balance is. So you can see it's an effort to address something that does not quite fit in one, and that's why all the multi-stakeholders ought to participate in those things. We want to be as clear as we can, but we can't also be too prescriptive, because then we will lose out some of the important things that the community can best handle, and that needs to be mentioned. And on issues like rights and freedoms, we have to appreciate that it's difficult, because in addition to having that, we also need to assure the safety and the peace of a community. So it's a difficult subject, and that's, I think, the kind of things that the Commission is wrestling with. And I'm just pleased to have had a chance to have your inputs. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll draw to a close. I'd like to thank you again for joining us and for this lively discussion. I think all of us here will be around this week, and we'd be happy to engage individually. Also, I'd like to introduce Eric Jardine and Samantha Bradshaw from the Secretariat staff here. They also are around this week, and there is a booth there which is intermittently staffed. If we're there, drop by and talk. Thank you all again.